You're live.
That's debatable.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay. We're not at home, so here we are. The theme for this poll was Noir-vember, so film noir selections.
Yes.
The 5 you gave me were Kiss Me Deadly, Decoy, Born to Kill, Detour, and Laura. And Laura won the majority of the votes. No one was checking for Decoy.
Which is too bad because what's her name? She's Jean Gilly is really vicious in it as a femme fatale. She's a lot of fun.
Which one did you vote for?
I voted for Laura because it's been the longest since I've seen that one. And I am a big Gene Tierney and Dana Andrews fan. And also Clifton Webb is a lot of fun in it.
Yes. Okay, the story of Laura. A police detective falls in love with the woman whose murder he is investigating. I think that's kind of loose. I don't know. I don't know that I felt that, but the story is about a woman named Laura, played by
Gene Tierney.
She is thought to have been murdered because they find a body in her apartment of a woman.
Of a face blasted off with buckshot.
Yeah, a shotgun blast to the face. So Dana Andrews is the detective investigating. And he questions several people. So there's this man named Waldo Lydecker, who's this like very popular newspaper columnist.
Who's like her mentor, benefactor. It's a very Pygmalion kind of relationship.
It's very Clive Davis, Whitney Houston. So
and he's narrating.
He's narrating. So Dana Andrews questions him. Then Laura is dating Vincent Price, who's like a gigolo. Dana Andrews questions Laura's maid named Bessie. So for half the film, it's like, well, who did it? And then there's a gag because Dana Andrews seems to have become infatuated with Laura, like hearing about her. And then there's this portrait of her in her apartment that he seems fixated on. And he's been staying at her apartment. And one morning or night or whatever, he's awakened by someone coming into the apartment. And it's Laura. So she's not dead. So it begs the question, well, who was killed in her apartment? They put 2 and 2 together and figure out that it was this woman named Diane.
Diane Redfern, where the red fern grows.
Who was a model who worked for Laura because Laura's an advertising executive. She was having an affair with Vincent Price. So Vincent had invited her over because he knew that Laura was going to be out of town, like visiting the country for some respite. And that lady, Diane, was wearing Laura's clothes and shoes. So when they found this body with the face blasted off in Laura's apartment, wearing her clothes, they assumed it was her. So now Dana Andrews' efforts are shifted to, well, who killed Diane? And everything culminates in this party, like the welcome back from the dead party that Waldo has organized at Laura's apartment. And Dana Andrews gets a phone call from his superior, I presume, talking about, like, have you solved this case? And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm actually about to arrest the perpetrator, which I think is the best scene in the film because he kind of has everyone who we think might be involved lined up. And he's going down the line. And who does he arrest? Laura. Takes her down to the station, interrogates her, and then it's clear that she did not kill Diane. So Dana Andrews gets a hunch that maybe it was Waldo, Laura's mentor. And at the beginning of the film, because Waldo's narrating, we're told that in Waldo's very fancy apartment, he has this very nice grandfather clock. And he says there are only 2 in the world. Laura has the other one. But Dana Andrews goes to Waldo's apartment, and he has the thought that maybe the murder weapon is inside the grandfather clock. He opens it and sees there's a secret compartment. He busts it open, and it's empty. So then he thinks, oh my gosh, maybe it's at Laura's apartment. But while he's figuring that out, Waldo shows up to Laura's apartment and he goes into that grandfather clock and he opens that secret compartment and there's the shotgun. So now it looks like he's going to kill Laura because he says, if I can't have you, no one can. So then we find out that Waldo is obsessed with Laura, but knows that he can't have her. But that night when Diane was killed, he actually went there to kill Vincent Price, but then was startled because this person who he didn't expect to be there came out, Diane, and shoots her. So now he's going to kill Laura, but that's when Dana Andrews and the other people show up. She's able to
deflect
his shotgun blast, and then the police end up killing Waldo. The end.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this movie?
I find it enjoyable. Of course, it is very much of its period, and there are several reasons I think you have to view it through a sort of context of the lens of 1944. But I think it's a fantastic cast. I think it's a lot of fun. There are some camp elements, but there are also some dark, subversive elements as well. Like the whole Dana Andrews thing, which is told to us about how he's in love with this dead woman. It kind of reeks of necrophilia. And I think you can have some really interesting readings with the Clifton Webb, Gene Tierney relationship.
It's not the strongest film noir I've seen. There are others I liked much better. I don't think there aren't enough twists and turns. I wasn't very satisfied with the characterizations. So I would say it's fine.
I read the book as a kid. But I don't remember it well enough to note any comparisons. But Vera Caspary, who wrote quite a few notable things, including A Letter to Three Wives, which is worth watching. She has another book I have called Bedelia, which I think might have been written after Laura, and that's made into a film with Margaret Lockwood, which I'm eager to read and watch that. But I think that's also notable. Gene Tierney, you are familiar with because her signature role is Leave Her to Heaven.
Which I enjoyed that movie.
And that's her.
Where she throws that boy off the boat.
No, she lets him drown.
Oh, she lets him drown.
She throws herself down the stairs to end a pregnancy.
That's right.
That's a Technicolor film noir, and that's the year after this. I guess you could say Laura is her signature role, but she's really just this object of beauty in it. But she is striking if you like her. And she had a nervous breakdown and then kind of came back. I think Preminger helped her. So, notably, this is Otto Preminger's 7th film. He would work with her a couple more times, including Whirlpool. He'd reunite her with Dana Andrews in Where the Sidewalk Ends. But she had a nervous breakdown and she came back. I think she's in his Advice and Consent in a supporting role. But if you like her, Shanghai Gesture with Joseph von Sternberg is also excellent.
So what didn't I care for? First of all, the titular character, Laura, we get to know her in the beginning, like the first half of the film, before she pops up from the dead, because her story is told in flashbacks. And it's basically Waldo's in saying how he met her, which we can get to, and how he helped mentor her to be the ad executive she is now. But I guess, I don't know, I didn't really connect with her before we actually see her alive. And then once she returns halfway through, she's beautiful, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then the gag of, we were looking for the murderer of Laura, and now we find out that she's not dead. So now it's like we want to know who killed this lady named Diane.
And she has a motive, as does everybody
and
else.
We've never met Diane. So it's like, well, obviously like someone being murdered is a problem, but it's like we don't know Diane. And then Diane was having an affair with her boss's boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of raggedy. Not a judgment, but you know what I mean? It's just like I didn't really connect with the actual murder victim. So that entire thing, I was like, I don't really care. I don't know who I think the main character is. Like if it's Dana Andrews, then I don't feel like his infatuation with Laura is well developed.
It's told to us.
Yeah. And I don't know. I almost wanted him to seem a little more crazy. Like he's obsessed with this dead woman. And so he's making decisions that are weird. And, because when I didn't know anything about this movie and the premise is, one little line, I assumed that this movie was about the detective who falls in love with the murder victim. And we find out he's the one who killed her because he couldn't be with her, which maybe seems obvious. But now after watching this film, I wish it would have been about that. I think we could have had more fun with Dana Andrews. Then it doesn't make sense that, well, first off, we have to talk about Waldo, mm-hmm. who's played by
Clifton Webb, Oscar nominated in this. Notably, the film won an Oscar for Best Cinematography.
He seems so gay, like so extra gay.
And I think Preminger, if I recall correctly, had to fight to get him because he was too flamboyant. The studio didn't want him. Remember, it's 1944.
Of course, but it's like, he's like the last person we would assume would kill Laura because he seems like a gay man who just loves his beautiful young lady friend.
Who's crafted her in his image, yeah.
Then we think, oh, Bessie, because like the maid gets questioned, but Bessie's so damn crazy and obsessed with her boss that it's like, I didn't suspect her being involved at all.
Hopelessly
and then
devoted.
we actually find out that she tried to like hide evidence,
yes,
so that no one would think her boss was like a floozy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, Bessie didn't do it. Then Vincent Price, why would he kill his
meal ticket?
Meal ticket. So the only person who made sense to potentially be a suspect is Laura's aunt.
Anne Treadwell, played by the great Judith Anderson, who you should recognize as Mrs. Danvers, the lesbian housemaid obsessed with Joan Fontaine and Rebecca. She also strangely played an indigenous person in A Man Called Horace.
The reason she makes a good suspect is because we find out that Laura's aunt is obsessed with Vincent Price.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows that he won't be with her because he can be with a more beautiful younger woman, her niece.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a scene at when Laura returns where her aunt is talking to her and she's like, I wanted to kill you, but I didn't.
She goes, I've thought about it.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, I don't know. There was no suspect who felt like the movie kept me going just because I wanted to know what happened. I didn't like that the murder victim switched up halfway through because then it's like, well, now I don't really care.
But I don't mind.
I just want to know what happened.
It's kind of that doppelganger effect. I mean, I'm wearing a Vertigo shirt.
Oh,
I like that element.
So yeah, that didn't. Then you already alluded to this. Dana Andrews being in love with this dead woman. I guess you could. Like, it is interesting. Like, there's, there kind of feels like a little bit of necrophilia sprinkled in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wish he would have been a little more like obsessed and crazy. And then the best character in the film is Waldo.
Yes.
Because he's like this bitchy old queen.
Well, think about how we meet him. He's in a bathtub.
He's in his home. This is beautiful, like ornate home.
His homosexual
extravagant.
home.
Yeah, his homosexual home. And he's like in his marble bathtub with his little typewriter, and everything out of his mouth is rude and mean.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it was coded and like whatever, but I don't know. I almost wish you would have spent more time with him and Laura.
Sure.
And then this thing happens, and then maybe it's Dana Andrews and Waldo trying to figure out the murder, but no one believes Waldo because he's like this extravagant, queer person. I don't know. It wasn't as interesting as I assumed it would be after we started the film and we meet Waldo.
Sure.
And then it didn't meet my expectation from the premise because Dana Andrews just feels like he's just there.
Yeah, he gets to do a little bit more in Fallen Angel, which he would do with Preminger a year later, where he'd be doing something even more devious with a woman to get the woman he really wants.
I'm just going to go through my notes. So we first meet Waldo, like you said, he's in the tub, but he's wearing shorts in the bathtub, which I thought was funny that they didn't, I guess, shoot it so that we couldn't see that. When Dana Andrews asks Waldo, were you in love with Laura? I laughed out loud because it's like he's so gay that it just...
Well, there's a certain kind of love. I think he was obsessed with her. And everybody... That's why she would seem to make a perfect relationship with the Vincent Price character, because we're also told, I don't believe it, that all these people are obsessed with him. It's like, why?
Well, there could be a drink. Well, let's talk about Vincent Price. I thought Vincent Price looked kind of good.
He looks like an oaf to me. And he also reads as very gay.
But then he seems so gay too. Yeah. So then you have these two gay men who are a big part of Laura's life. But then it makes sense, right? Because beautiful women tend to surround themselves with men who are not threatening in that way. Mm-hmm. So that's why often, they're around gay men in my little world. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Vincent Price seems very gay
and he was.
as well. Mm-hmm. There could be a drinking game every time someone says dame.
Oh yeah.
Which of course by today's standards, we wouldn't call a woman a dame.
Well, it's meant to be disrespectful.
But I didn't realize in 1944 that it was considered disrespectful.
Yeah, like a loose woman.
Yeah, because someone even says, like, can you believe he called her a dame? I don't like that. So the way Laura meets Waldo is that she's like this runt at an ad agency, and she goes to a restaurant where Waldo is having lunch at this fancy restaurant, and she just walks right up to him and says, "Oh, Mr. Lydecker, my firm would be more than happy to pay you $5,000 to endorse this product, which is a pen." And he is so rude to her.
Yeah.
He's like, "Bitch, I don't even use pens. I use like my feather in my ink pot." And
he's like, he says something like, "You're forgetting something more important than your career, my lunch."
Right. But, I have to say, I didn't think he was being unreasonable. Like, I'm trying to enjoy my lunch and you just walk up to me, a stranger, and now you want me to like do business with you? I don't even know you, bitch. Like, what? So I didn't think he was that unreasonable. He's just really rude.
Yeah. There's a different way he could have shut her down.
Of course. But then this really wasn't well explained either. Because if her beauty is so captivating to him, I feel like he wouldn't have been so rude to her immediately. But after the lunch, he has like a second thought and he goes to her job and basically apologizes to her and says, I'll endorse your pen. And then we get a montage of him explaining that he basically mentored her by introducing her to all the important famous people.
And helped her with her hair and her wardrobe.
It was very Kanye West. Like, I picked out her clothes. I told her how to make her hair look better.
And presto, changeo, now she is me.
Who's Shelby? Vincent Price.
Shelby Carpenter.
Shelby Carpenter. Yeah. Dana interviewing or interrogating Vincent Price, I thought was funny.
Who's lying at every moment. And
he's lying about everything.
He's almost immediately caught in all his lies. He's like, "Oh, well, I didn't say that because."
When Waldo is trying to tell Laura, like, because Waldo investigates Vincent Price. He hires a private investigator and basically tells her, like, here's my dossier of proof. Like, he ain't shit. He's a gigolo. He's seeing that model that you hire sometimes. And then the cherry on top is he goes, "Oh, that like fancy cigarette case you bought him, that gold cigarette carrier, he gave that to that lady and she pawned it. So that's proof that both of them are raggedy." And she goes, "We'll just settle this right now. I'll call him." So she seems very reasonable. Like,
she is. She seems like a genuinely nice person. Like, you believe the maid, really.
The maid is too devoted to her employer.
Much too much.
Like, it's crazy. You know what it reminded me of? I watched my very first Shirley Temple movie.
Oh, yeah.
5 days ago?
Yeah, Little Princess.
And it's called The Little Princess?
The Little Princess.
And I'm not going to tell the story, but
we'll talk.
There's a character in the movie who's supposed to be like Shirley Temple's maid. And they're the same age. They're both kids, like 10 or 11. And that little girl is so devoted to Shirley Temple.
For no reason.
For no good damn reason. And that's how Bessie was in this movie.
Yes.
And she's like, because Dana's like, "You tampered with evidence. Why did you move this like wine bottle from here to here?" And she's like, "Well, I didn't want anyone thinking that she was like a loose woman or that she had men over here all the time."
She goes, but she storms into her first scene being like, "I'm a domestic and I'm proud of it."
Well, you know who she also seemed like? Who's the lady from Bewitched who played Endora?
Agnes Moorehead.
Agnes Moorehead's in the movie where she's like, "I'm going to go into town and tell them what you've been up to."
That movie is Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte.
Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte. Endora in that movie, who also is playing a domestic. Bessie in this movie was giving me Endora vibes.
But Agnes is styled like a shithouse rat.
She was like a raccoon with rabies.
A feral creature. But you believe that Grey Gardens type relationship. This is like that.
Oh, yes.
This is that woeful stereotype about the working class that if they find a good employer, they will commit murder for you if you ask them to. And it's like,
I also didn't care for Laura because in her office, she had a lamp on her desk that was a black lady.
Yes.
Holding like what looked like a skirt.
Yes.
I didn't like that. I don't know why she had that lamp. So Laura could have been shot in the face. I don't know.
I mean, should we blame Gene Tierney or the production designer?
I don't know. I did not like that lamp. I know it's 1940.
Well, there's a lot of close-ups on it, and there are a couple scenes where if you close up on it, that lamp, the face on the woman on the lamp is a very creepy face.
Yeah, anyway. I didn't catch this, but you said that Dana Andrews' character puts a bid in for Laura's apartment?
Clifton Webb says something to him on that, and that's the scene where we know, like, oh, he's obsessed with Laura. That's why he keeps going to the apartment. And Clifton Webb's always wandering around outside, and he's like, "What, did you sublet this place?" And he's like, "I know you put a bid on it."
I thought that wasn't well. Like, again, I needed to better see how obsessed he is with her, because that, like, so he's trying to rent her apartment. He's in it quite a bit.
And I almost wonder what this would have been like if it, because Preminger hadn't really had a huge hit before this. Like I said, it's his 7th film, and this movie was a big hit. And at 89 minutes, I feel like if this had come a decade later in his career, things would have been fleshed out more different. Even like queer and brown people a decade later, things would start to shift just a tiny bit. But like if you look at differences between this and Kiss Me Deadly, which is towards the end of what we call the classic cycle of film noir, there are differences.
I just lost my train of thought. Oh, so Bessie, the maid, she's the one who we're told found Laura's dead body, which is obviously like traumatic.
Traumatic, yeah.
And then when she sees Laura alive, I felt so bad for that lady. I know her little brain cells were like...
It's like the cat when we come back from vacation.
Like, oh my God.
But then that's an odd scene, because Dana Andrews comes in, Gene Tierney looks great, and it's before breakfast, by the way. And he's like, "I bought bacon and eggs, and I'm going to make you breakfast." And she goes, no, let me do that. Then Bessie comes in, collapses, and she goes, "Make us breakfast."
Yeah.
Like, "I'm alive. Could you please make us bacon and eggs?"
I thought that was raggedy too.
But there are weird shifts of power dynamics in that scene that I think are really interesting.
Then when Waldo's gay ass sees Laura, he faints. And it's very dramatic. They have to like drag him to the bed, and he's all like...
And then makes all these phone calls in secret.
But then while he's recuperating from his fainting spell, he organizes a party. And then when he comes out of the room, he acts like he just didn't dramatically faint.
And Dana Andrews is like, "I don't know why you bothered. I called all these people already."
That's the old gay man for sure. Yeah, planning a party while like... that fainting spell was too much. One of the characters... No, who said it? Because we watched this with your sister. Who said like... women will do anything for a tall man? Because we were talking about Vincent Price, because you didn't think he was appealing. I don't think he was attractive enough.
My sister said that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, especially Judith Anderson is just gaga. And I think Judith Anderson, I think, looks nice in this.
Who's Judith?
The aunt, Anne Treadwell. Because we had people watching.
Oh, was she the one who had the
veil?
I said she looked like Alice the Goon. From Popeye.
I don't agree with that at all. She looked nice in this movie.
She can't compare to Laura.
But who else did she get compared to? Glenn Close and somebody else, like a legitimate actress, not Alice the Goon.
Anyway.
I love Judith Anderson as Mrs. Danvers.
What else would you say about this movie?
Oh, I mean, if you are a fan of film noir, this is, probably in the top 10 notable film noirs.
Oh, notable,
that
sure.
you have to see. Yeah, for sure. And again, like, I have many more that I like, that I prefer over this. Double Indemnity. The list was
The Big Clock.
The Big Clock is a lot of fun.
Or the one that Bradley Cooper's in, the remake.
Nightmare Alley. The
Nightmare
original
Alley.
is really good. That's kind of almost like a subset of film noir.
This one didn't give me what I needed, but I think it's good. Like, I would recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. But the list was kind of selfish. There were films out that kind of had a femme fatale oriented storyline, and also that I wanted to rewatch. But if you are looking for a really nasty femme fatale, Anne Savage in Detour is hard to top. Jean Gilly in Decoy is also way up there. Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity is like, that's perfection. But
what would you give this movie?
3.5. Oh, Postman Always Rings Twice. Yeah,
I would probably give this one 2.5 out of 5. I thought it was fine.
Okay,
it was fine.
But if you want to see Gene Tierney be nasty, Leave Her to Heaven.
Okay. Yes, I'll go through the comments. We are almost at 30,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, someone didn't really enjoy this movie. It's not malicious, schemy, or dark enough. I agree.
The book, if you look at old publications of the paperback by Vera Caspary, it looks like like just a gothic romance novel. It's like a lady on the cover. I can't remember if she had brown or red hair. And it's the cover of that book tells more than I think what Preminger is crafting this into.
Thank you, BMCK. Hello, Shirley. Have you seen the German 1931 film M starring Peter Lorre?
Of course, that is must see.
Have I seen it?
You haven't. Somebody talked about that, but great Peter Lorre film. Peter Lorre film. They changed the original story that's based on. He liked little boys, and they changed it to little girls. Also, if you like that, I highly recommend Joseph Losier did a remake in the 50s.
The Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
You know, I haven't watched that since I was probably in a bad headspace as an undergrad, and I remember watching that because I went through my Gene Tierney phase, and I hated Rex Harrison in The Ghost of Mrs. Muir, just how he said Mrs. Muir, but I probably could rewatch that. I think that's a Mankiewicz film, and I prefer Tierney. I think, was it one of her first movies in Dragonwyck? That's a Mankiewicz film that's worth watching.
We know Laura through Waldo's perspective. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an interesting way to tell a story because I didn't connect her like as the titular character. She didn't feel like the main character. Well, then Dana Andrews feels flat to me. I think everyone's acting is great. Like it's better than okay. But yeah, I didn't connect to anyone really.
That's okay. And noir, you're not supposed to. They're all terrible people, really, except for we don't really know the essence of Laura. But all of those are misleading us, including giving Clifton Webb the narration and being so affronted about not being considered a suspect, is a way to mislead us, the audience, from already the formula of filmmaking that was in place by this time.
Is Mildred Pierce a film noir?
Yes.
It is?
Mm-hmm. It's considered one of the oddest film noirs because the love interest is between a mother and daughter.
I remember loving that movie, but I don't recall like what the mystery is. Does someone get killed?
She's taking the blame for a murder that her daughter committed.
Oh, I need to rewatch that.
Oh, it's good.
Someone said, "Happy Friday. We're about to leave for Palm Springs. Today's Saturday, right?"
No, yeah.
But I do love Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Too Late for Tears.
Such a good title. We own that. That is Elizabeth Scott, who is also in quite a few good B film noirs. Probably her A-list noir title is A Dead Reckoning with Humphrey Bogart.
I bought my mom a book called Too Late for Tears back in like 1994. And my mom kept that book. My mom used to have a big basket of like magazines in her bathroom. And she put that book in there, and that book was in there for like maybe 15 years. Mm-hmm. She never even opened it up. And every time I would go to use her bathroom.
Did you open it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I would like read a page while I'm sitting on the toilet, but I never actually finished that book.
Well, and with your memory, each page is probably like a scene from a Memento.
She's kind of raggedy, not a judgment.
We all have our moments.
Extra gay. A Letter to Three Wives.
Well, yeah, especially in that period, like these women that receive a note that suggests one of their husbands is having an affair, and then they're all kind of kept in suspense for the day. Like, who could it be? And then we're wandering through their days trying to put together, like, whose husband could be cheating on them?
Oh my gosh. You met Vincent Price in an acting class?
Oh, I bet he was fun.
Oh.
Or interesting, to say the least.
I would like to hear about Vincent Price.
I always wanted to get a copy of the cookbook he wrote with his wife.
Now that the strike is over, do you think Meryl Streep can make a comeback using an elevated spin on hagsploitation? I have a feeling she wants to tie Katharine Hepburn.
You know, Katharine Hepburn didn't like her.
Oh.
I I don't think Meryl Streep's ever gone away, but I'm happy when she hasn't done a film for a year, so we don't have to put up with her snagging an unnecessary Oscar slot, even though I don't care about the Oscars. But Walter Hill, I don't know if he still has the rights to whatever happened to Baby Jane, but I'd love an adaptation of that with Meryl and Sigourney, who of course I prefer. I think that could be amazing.
Oh, someone said something. It would have been good to have an equally well-written character for Lydecker to spar with, because Dana Andrews seems overstoned blank. Yeah.
Well, he's got that annoying little like trinket that he's playing with, like a baseball.
Yeah, that
game.
baseball toy.
And he's like, I'm doing this to stay calm.
I read that the score is considered like it's a good score, but I don't recall the score of this movie at all. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
My dad kept commenting on it. Well, because in the cabin, it gets switched. That's a point of contention. If the radio works in the cabin or in her apartment, Dana Andrews switches it on, and Vincent Price is like, "Oh, that's her favorite. It's not very sophisticated, but it's sweet," or something.
Are you familiar with Bill Hader's impression of Vincent Price?
I am not.
I'm not either.
But I love Bill Hader.
Oh, that shirt reminds me. Please review Vertigo. Have I seen that movie?
You did, and you walked out. You got mad. Joseph doesn't like Jimmy Stewart, who arguably was too old for that. I don't love Kim Novak, but it's a lot of fun. I think you got upset at that kind of hallucinatory scene where he's dreaming, where Hitchcock goes ham. Yeah, you didn't like it.
Makes me sound like a difficult woman. Nick, do you own all of these movies?
I own all of them except Laura.
We had to pay for.
We had to rent that on Amazon. But yeah, I have them all. Criterion has really nice versions of Detour Now and Kiss Me Deadly. Kiss Me Deadly is Robert Aldrich, who did Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
I love the banter between Waldo and Shelby. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's just these two homos talking about this lady that might be dead.
Laura, a Shirley Temple sequel.
Oh God.
Oh, and then Shirley Temple. Yeah, that was my first time seeing a Shirley Temple movie.
It was the only Shirley Temple movie I like.
Okay, I did enjoy The Little Princess because her character is a really nice girl. But Shirley Temple, the actor, is kind of creepy.
It's creepy, and I like that movie because you see her go through hard times.
Well, but her character is a sweet girl because her family is rich, like her dad, and she's been taught to be very kind, and she's very kind to people around her, and she makes friends with the little servant girl.
And of course, I believe Alfonso Cuarón remade that in the 90s, and it's based on the Frances Hodgson Burnett novel, who also wrote Secret Garden and Little Lord Fauntleroy.
But I did think Shirley Temple was creepy because she has like an adult face kind of, but then she's acting like a baby, but then her dialogue feels a little too sophisticated. Well,
even when she's running through the streets and
she's running through the streets with like her head covered like a mature woman, and I don't know. It was creepy to me.
It's the Dakota Fanning effect, where it's like, this is unnerving.
Yeah, that's a good way. She was pretty adultified. I think it was like, seeing kids not acting like kids makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, and what's
like John Benet Ramsey.
And then what's his name is the Joker that's in Indian Face in that movie.
Oh, that's right. The man who played the Joker in the original Batman series plays an Indian gentleman, like from India.
Yes. God, what's his name again?
It's hard to find a good job. Does Shirley Temple have a creepy stalker?
That makes sense.
Are you concerned about films like Laura that are in the public domain? Robert Downey Jr. wants to remake Vertigo.
He is remaking Vertigo.
Oh.
I don't think that's in the public domain, though. Like, somebody has to have the rights to Hitchcock.
Someone's saying that Dana Andrews' character sublet the apartment to smoke out Waldo.
Yeah, but...
Well, that makes sense, but then... I'm not trying to be difficult. I didn't dislike this
Cesar Romero. I forgot his name.
I do think this movie's fine. I just want it to be a little more of everything.
Sure, like those noirs that kind of give you that, like, I can't believe this got made almost. But it's still, I think there are a lot of fun things in it.
Yes. I got lost. Oh, God. Good morning, everyone. Wow. I don't know where I am.
I don't know what St. Martin's.
The Maltese Falcon.
You've seen that.
I have.
Yeah, where Peter Lorre is the coded queer character.
Oh.
And that's a Dashiell Hammett book. And I never liked Mary Astor, but she's pretty vicious in that. But that's that one, Bogart has that odd line about get your gun soul away from me, which is supposed to mean homosexual. And it's like, everybody's like, what the hell is a gun soul?
I don't know. Key Largo.
Key Largo is great. Claire Trevor, who I believe won an Oscar for that. Wow, great.
The Postman Always Rings Twice.
You've seen the original with Lana Turner. And I've been hungry to rewatch the remake with Nicholson and Jessica Lange. And then there, of course, was that remake we reviewed with Nicholson's kid. That's terrible. Out of the Blue.
Oh,
that's all the same story. And Christian Petzold has a version of that with Nina Haas.
The Big Clock was the inspiration for No Way Out with Kevin Costner.
Yep, from '87 with Sean Young. The Big Clock's better. And Gene Hackman's in the remake. But Charles Laughton is fantastic in the original.
Speaking of necrophilia, have you seen Kissed from the 90s?
Kissed? No, I don't believe so.
I love you guys. Please do a Chloe Sevigny poll next. She's 49 next Saturday.
God damn.
The only Chloe Sevigny movie I know is the one with Timothée Chalamet.
Bones and All?
Bones and All.
That's all you know?
Yeah.
She's got a Sigourney connection. She's on a poster in our garage. She's in a map of the world as that white trash mom.
She is? I couldn't have told you that.
She did that the same year as Boys Don't Cry, her Oscar-nominated role. I like Chloe. A Kiss Before Dying. The original is interesting. There's a Sean Young, Matt Dillon remake of that. Ira Levin, Rosemary's Baby author, wrote it.
Would you consider The Big Lebowski neo-noir?
You could.
Have I seen Strangers on a Train?
You haven't. You've seen Throw Mama from the Train, which is kind of a remake of that. Strangers on the Train. The woman in that is Ruth Roman, who you know from The Baby. The mama from The Baby.
Oh.
So she's young and beautiful in Strangers on a Train. And that's actually a Hitchcock I've been wanting to rewatch. Farley Granger.
Hello, North Wales. I wonder what the weather's like in North Wales right now.
Yeah, I'll need to rewatch Ghost of Mrs. Muir.
Our background is giving 1980 Stephen King movie.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this building, we're in Minneapolis right now. This building, I'm sure, is from the early 1900s.
Yeah. You can hear every step taken.
I can hear every step. But it's very charming because we're in we rented an apartment. So it's very cute.
Mm-hmm.
In case the owner's watching, I don't know. No.
I doubt it. I like Saint Maud. I think we have a review for that.
We reviewed Saint Maud. Yeah. Have you seen The Love Witch?
You know, I never finished watching it. It has a really unique look, but I think there was something, I need to revisit it, but I never finished it.
Can you continue with these comments?
So you keep referring to Stack as in Robert Stack, I'm assuming, but he's really good in Written on the Wind, which he lost an Oscar. He lost an Oscar to Anthony Quinn, I think, for that. Yeah, Shadow of a Doubt is great. Teresa Wright and Joseph Cotten as the nasty uncle that comes. But even the beginning of that movie with the chain or the smoke coming out of the train, and then you see a shot of Joseph Cotten. I think that's pretty good visualization of everything you need to know. Eve Arden is great in Mildred Pierce, and I still have not. She had her own show in the 50s that I've never seen. And when Olivia Newton-John died, I made Joseph watch Grease, and for years and years and years, I didn't realize that she's the principal in Grease as well. But I love her in how she feels in that 40s, 50s era. Arsenic and Old Lace. You know, I've only seen that once, the Cary Grant version, and I love slapstick. Bring Up Baby, I think, is my favorite comedy of all time. But I don't know. Arsenic and Old Lace I find so hard to get into. I don't like the character thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt, I believe. And again, I think that might have been one of those comedies that I just wasn't in a good headspace to watch. And I need to at a different time. My thoughts on Dennis Hopper's Easy Rider. I think I've only seen that once, and I think it's great. I think Dennis Hopper, Nicholson, that was kind of his climbing out of the pit of Roger Corman and into the new American cinema movement. Love Karen Black. That's also a movie you could put on anytime. And Peter Fonda, of course. All right.
Welcome back. Thank you. When I was in 4th grade, I found a Playboy just sitting on the toilet when I used my friend's bathroom. I think I've only ever looked at a Playboy magazine one time, and it was in 8th grade, and someone brought it to like study hall.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
Yeah.
Frankenstein or Bride? I prefer Bride of Frankenstein because you finally get the bride at the end, and I love her little cat scream. And I also love Elsa Lanchester, and it's just more fun.
Has Meryl ever acted with Sigourney?
No, but Meryl has been on record of saying the man she married, Don Gummer, was dating Sigourney because she's had some funny story where she says, like, rumor had it on campus that Sigourney had was dating the only straight boy around, and I went and took a look and I liked what I saw.
Thoughts on A24 Productions?
I think that they could try less hard on marketing, but I also understand that it's hard to make a cinematic sensation, but I'm always interested. I'll say that.
Nick, please show Joseph's Sisters by Brian De Palma.
You know, I've written a script once and I said this was, and of course I made him read it. And I was like, this is heavily influenced by Sisters. And he took the wrong one off the shelf. Speaking of Chloe Sevigny, she's in a really bad remake of that. And he watched that. But De Palma's original is fantastic.
What are you reading right now?
I just finished Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh because I saw the film and I can't wait to rewatch it. And I wanted more of that character. So I read the book. And now I'm reading Population 1280 by Jim Thompson.
Has Joseph seen The Bad Seed from 1956?
Yes, I had a movie night for that when we lived in West Hollywood. Pretty damn good. Eileen Heckert is the drunk, and Nancy Allen. No, not Nancy Allen. Nancy Kelly as the mother. And then, of course, little Patty McCormick as the bad seed. Also a pretty good book by William March. And there's a play version, too.
Are you a fan of the Crank films?
I've never seen the Crank films with Jason Statham. You have.
Oh, well, I went with my ex, so that would have been like 17, 18 years ago. We went to see, I guess, the first Crank. I don't know what that would have been.
2006, 5, 6.
Oh, so it would have been like 18 years ago. Yeah, so the first Crank, and he walked out because it was too loud. So I left too.
Oh, yeah, Kansas City Confident. I liked Colleen Gray quite a bit. She has a supporting role she's the lead in The Leech Woman, but she's in Kubrick's The Killing and Nightmare Alley. But yeah, Kansas City Confidential, because I also thought that one man was handsome in a Dana Andrews kind of way. I think his name is John Payne, who's in the Santa movie, Murder on 47th Street. Miracle on 34th Street? Is that it with Maureen O'Hara? Santa? Okay.
Did we review Jackie Brown? No, because we did a Tarantino poll and everyone voted for Pulp Fiction.
Love Jackie Brown, though. Pam Grier's perfection in that.
What did we rate All About Eve? I don't think I've rated it.
That's a 5 out of 5 movie.
I don't remember it well enough to say what I would give it. It would for sure get 4 or higher.
To me, that's
but I need to rewatch
it. Mankiewicz was so good. That Suddenly Last Summer, love it.
Lovely to see you today. Lovely to see us. Thank you. Nick is so sharp as always.
I had my meds. I'm not on meds. I'm just kidding. The Last Days of Disco. I've never seen Whit Stillman. I think one of his only of that cycle in the 90s he made. But yeah, he liked her.
Oregon is windy as hell. I like the window frames, the dark wood. Oh, I do too, actually.
Chloe's in a good Whit Stillman movie, Love and Friendship. One of the only things I love Kate Beckinsale in. That's a Jane Austen adaptation from 2016.
It's cold and dark in Wales. I'm wrapped up in 3 layers of warm clothing. Oh.
Sounds nice. Perfect time to read something nasty or watch something of equal measure. The Eve Arden show. See, yeah, you liked Eve Arden and Mildred Pierce, her friend.
I don't remember.
Okay, you liked her.
I tried to watch Crack House after your live stream. It was too low vibrational for me.
I mean, it's upsetting. It's an exploitation film.
I must have been in a good mood that night because I was like,
Again, there's some movies that are more fun. Like if you're alone, it's just like, this is depressing the hell out of me.
oh, The Dark Sad Life of Boogie 2988. I watched the trailer for that documentary. Do you know what that is?
No.
There's this guy who was like super popular on YouTube. I think he was like, he reviewed video games or played video games. I'd never heard of this person, but there's a documentary about him. I don't know what happens, except in the documentary, they talk about how he lost all his money and he couldn't afford to live.
Great.
It looked interesting and it's on YouTube. So, did you watch Citizen Kane?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you haven't seen Citizen Kane.
What's the one with the red wheelbarrow or?
Well, Rosebud.
Well,
that's Citizen Kane.
Oh, I have seen Citizen Kane.
Okay, not with me.
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay. Well, if you take any film class, it's like they make you watch that. It seems.
What's your favorite witch movie?
Oh, I don't know. The Witches, Angelica Houston, The Witches is pretty fly. Love Witches of Eastwick, Suspiria. I mean, there are a lot of good ones. Burn Witch Burn. Yeah.
Oh, BMCK just finished Maria Bamford's book.
Oh, I love Maria Bamford.
Have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
Yes.
Is that a Del Toro movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's magical.
Am I feeling better this week? Yeah. Thank you for asking. Oh, there's a series on Netflix called Billionaire Boyfriend. Yeah, watching how wealthy people live is always like, I'm so poor. Although I don't know that I want to be. I mean, of course, I'd love to not have to work, but I don't know that I need a lot like that to have like. I mean, people have like compounds and castles and staff and.
Yeah, I don't need the excess. I
don't want to have to worry about a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would like less people in my life, not more, but.
I just don't ever want to have to explain myself to some.
You don't want to explain yourself to anyone.
Well, that too.
That's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to rewatch All About Eve.
Oh, The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer, Jennifer Jason Leigh gets pulled apart, and C. Thomas Howell. And I never saw the remake.
What's your favorite Bette Davis movie?
Oh, probably Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. But Little Foxes, All About Eve. I mean, she has...
The Anniversary's fun.
The Anniversary, Hush, Hush, Sweet Child. She has so... Like, you could just pop those in at any time. I don't know. Old Acquaintance, she's just...
Have you seen I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore? With Elijah Wood.
Yeah, that one Netflix. And I could rewatch. I remember Macon Blair, I think, directed that. I remember liking it fine enough.
We did review Carmen Jones with Dorothy Dandridge.
Oh, I'm glad you bring that up because that's the same director as Laura.
Yeah, but we did a podcast for it. Mm-hmm. So if you look at our podcast, there's an episode called Carmen. We also reviewed Carmen, a hip opera. And then we reviewed Carmen, the remake with Paul Mescal. There's a YouTube video for that. So we've done 3 Carmen reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, Suddenly Last Summer, there's a filmed stage version with Maggie Smith, I believe, but it could be remade. They would have to make some changes, but I did my thesis on that, and because at the time, you couldn't even say gay, say homosexual on screen, so they had to play with all this shit to such a great degree, but you don't ever see Sebastian, of course. So I compared him to like a Christ figure because it was illegal to show any depictions of Christ in film. So he was like the queer Christ.
Since we're in someone else's apartment, is Nick cooking dinner tonight?
No.
We don't even there's nothing in this house except coffee.
Yeah.
So we've had to eat out for every meal, which is fun.
We're with family, so. Oh, I love Helen Mirren. I've never seen Excalibur.
What's the best big movie theater chain you prefer to see movies in? All we have here in Lubbock is Cinemark and an Alamo Drafthouse. Oh my God.
Alamo Drafthouse, definitely with your options, but.
When I was younger, it was like the year 2001. Mm-hmm. When I worked in the casino, I met this guy from Lubbock. Mm-hmm. And he was this like straight cowboy. I was just like, and he would come all the time to visit our casino. But I remember thinking, and he would always be like, "You should come to Lubbock." I'm like, "What would I come to Lubbock for? To chase around some handsome straight cowboy?" But I always think about Lubbock when I see the word Lubbock, I think about him. Yeah, I like Alamo Drafthouse.
Yes, I have a soft spot probably for Landmark growing up, and I liked the ArcLight chain that is, I guess, now defunct. But what can you do?
Does anyone prefer Guadagnino's Suspiria over the original?
I wouldn't say prefer. I think that you have to enjoy them both separately.
Thoughts on the movie Bound?
Oh God, love it. Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon are perfection in that. It's so good. And I've showed that to groups of gay men, and I feel like sometimes, I don't know if it's a group mentality thing, they just can't get past like enjoying a lesbian film. And I think someone's remarked before. I don't know. I find them compelling.
I think you can't tell people, like, you can't tell gay men it's about lesbians. You have to say it's like a queer story.
I know.
You can't say lesbian.
Like, I had a similar problem showing blue as the warmest color to homosexual men.
Have you heard of the old TV series Dark Shadows?
Oh, of course. My mother was a huge fan, Barnaby Collins. And the Tim Burton remake is kind of a letdown. And Joan Bennett, who's also in Suspiria, the original.
I just rewatched your review of the newer Carmen movie, and it's hilarious. Well, because we didn't like it. I thought that movie was terrible.
Not good.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then the podcast episode for Carmen, a hip opera, that is not a good movie. No. So I was ranting about that. But I recall thinking Dorothy Dandridge and Carmen was good.
Dark Victory. That's one with Humphrey Bogart, has that questionable Irish accent. Betty would roll over in her grave, I think, if people said she's just doing a long-standing Tallulah Bankhead impression. I appreciate both of those women separately. Tallulah was out of control, Tallulah Bankhead, but love Hitchcock's Lifeboat. And I'm sad I missed that documentary in Venice about the kind of Nazism that's apparently apparent in that movie, but still, Lifeboat's a lot of fun.
Nick, do you partake in the semi-annual 50% off Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble?
That's usually what I ask for gifts from like my mom and sister. Like, it's the perfect time to get something, because why pay full price?
Any other Black people in Lubbock? Yeah, are there Black people in Lubbock? Are we going to review Priscilla? Probably not, because I haven't seen it. And you'd have to rewatch it. But you talked about it twice already.
And I wrote a review on it. It's fine. I can't believe that is it Kaylee Spaney? Am I saying her last name right? I can't believe she won Best Actress in Venice. There are at least 4 to 5 others I would have given that to first. But
thank you for your Marvel review. The Marvels review. Oh,
is it bombing?
I didn't like it.
I didn't either.
Have you gotten into the Harry Potter series? I've only seen one Harry Potter movie, the first one, and we did a podcast for it.
I've seen the first 2. I would watch them, because I stopped watching right when I think they get good.
I think at this point, someone would have to pay me to watch them. I don't know. I wouldn't. It would take a long time for me to just happen to watch the Harry Potter movies. Like, maybe we can do a podcast for Harry Potter 2. But then now I don't remember Harry Potter 1. So
no, you didn't.
I feel like I need to watch them all together.
Oh, and then
like in short succession, and that it would require money, I think.
Thoughts on Seven Samurai? Well, Kurosawa, that's must-see filming, and it has been remade so many times in English that are subpar. I'll like Magnificent Seven twice.
Now that Marvel movies are bombing at the box office, what do you want the next phase of American cinema to be? Something
for adults where we're not tied into talking to children. Like, I don't know. But
you know what I had an idea for? Is if I were like a film executive, I would say, like, instead of spending $300 million on one stupid like superhero movie, why don't we take that $300 million, make 10 movies
for $30 million,
for $30 million each, and the 10 movies like each share, like they all intertwine, but each one has a different. So let's say like the first movie is a drama about 5 friends, and then they like it's one of those charts where like they like the spider chart where then it's like, oh, one of the characters sprouts off into like a film noir, and then one character sprouts off into like a slasher film, and then one is like a gay like adult comedy and something like that.
That would also require time and a lot of really great writing.
And then you could get like
Hollywood
10 really
doesn't have it.
good up and coming writers with diverse backgrounds and 10 very different directors. I think that would be such a great idea.
I think
I don't have 300 million, but
I think again, just forcing people to change their ways they think about filmmaking, which you do by introducing new kinds of material. But of course, there's all these budgets that are overblown based on marketing, and I don't think that you need to spend that kind of money on marketing anymore. I think that the way that you can introduce things that there's a way that it can be reinvented to make sense instead of having all these tent poles of movies that are written to please everybody. And anytime you do something to please everybody, it pleases no one.
Thoughts on Seven Samurai?
I just talked about that.
Oh, you should do a live on The Grifters.
Love The Grifters. That's a Jim Thompson novel I want to reread first before I rewatch it, actually. But Houston and Annette Bening, Oscar nominated for that.
Thoughts on Interview with a Vampire?
The film, I'm a fan. The Neil Jordan film, I'd like. We never finished the series.
What Oscar bait movie are you looking forward to reviewing?
None this year. I mean, we see Napoleon next week, which I feel like I have to get through.
The motto for Lubbock is Lubbock or leave it, and most leave. Damn.
Oh, we weren't boycotting. I mean, I can experience someone's art and also have a separate conversation about how terrible they are as a human being. But I would never, I don't agree with cancel culture as in like, I can't touch that because some people told me I can't.
What do you think of Legends of the Fall?
I almost put that on the other night instead of put on Stand By Me.
Is that the movie my mom said she likes with Brad Pitt?
With Brad Pitt and that hair.
Oh, yeah.
And Aidan Quinn and Anthony Hopkins.
Have you seen Pawnette?
The animated film by Miyazaki? I have not.
What's your favorite Tobe Hooper movie?
Well, Texas Chainsaw is hard to beat. Yeah. But I did, speaking of Tobe Hooper, I remember all these ads for the Mangler in the late 90s. I'd kind of like to rewatch that.
Where are they? Upstairs, no kitchen today? I just got here. We are in Minneapolis, and Nick rented an apartment. So we're in someone's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Yutaka likes my 10 movies idea. I think that would be brilliant.
I think it's a good
idea. And the marketing campaign around that could last for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. You just string out people would look forward to it. And I think it would be a hit. Mm-hmm. And the likelihood of making money off of, because you spend 300 million plus another, let's say 200 in advertising. So you spend $500 million on 10 movies that come out over the course of 2 years. I mean, that's a pretty safe gamble, I would think, versus one Marvel movie like The Marvels, which may bomb, or I guess is.
I think a couple have bombed lately, but I just...
I know. Someone needs to ask me about movies. Some executive needs to pay me to consult about. I have good ideas.
You do. And I would just be like, just throw that away. Throw that away. Here's my script.
Well, you could write one of the stories.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There could be a sci-fi. I just think it would be so whatever. Okay. Am I wrong for thinking Prisoners is a Thanksgiving film? I really like that movie. I rewatched it like 2 months ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's good. Denis Villeneuve. I prefer the other movie he did with Jake Gyllenhaal that year, though, Enemy.
Well,
Black Twitter's relitigate. I haven't read anything about any reactions. We see it on the 28th, The New Color Purple.
Well, I love the 1980
Well, I love the
What is it, 84, 85?
85.
I love that movie.
The women in that are fantastic.
And then I saw the Broadway musical with Fantasia twice. Love that.
But I saw the poster for the first time, and the poster art is troubling to me. It is.
It's bad graphic design,
Yeah.
but the trailer, I feel I'm looking forward to hearing Taraji sing. I saw clips of her singing, and she can sing. Of course, we know Fantasia. I think the fact that Oprah's behind it, I can't imagine she would let it be garbage. Did Angelica Houston deserve her Oscar for Oprah and Margot? Margaret?
Who else was nominated? I know Oprah.
Or is that Margaret?
Margaret who? Not Anne Margaret was.
Not
that.
Sorry, it's not the movie. I thought they were saying, did Angelica Houston deserve her Oscar for a movie called Oprah and Margaret? What did Angelica Houston win her Oscar for?
Prizzi's Honor.
Oh.
And I've been wanting to rewatch that too, Kathleen and Jack, but I don't think she probably didn't. There are other movies I think Angelica probably should have been nominated for or won for. But, well, you know, who did Whoopi lose to in 85? God.
Are we going to the Mall of America? No.
No.
Well, I lived here for 7 years, so I've been to the Mall of America many times. I don't need to go. All the Light We Cannot See is being lambasted.
I haven't seen it yet.
What's your favorite Ida Lupino directed film?
Directed?
They like The Bigamist and The Trouble with Angels.
Trouble with Angels is so cute. The Hitchhiker's pretty damn good, which you have seen.
Is there a possible Kurosawa discussion in the future? Not with me.
Why not?
I don't even know who that is.
Yes, you do. He's featured in The Bodyguard. They go see, is it Yojimbo?
Oh, with that sword?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you want me to have a discussion off of one reference in a movie?
No, you would be introduced to one of his films.
Oh, would I review a Kurosawa film?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he's a fantastic filmmaker. Although I prefer Mizoguchi, who did like darker, seedier films in my mind.
I hate that it took audiences this long to see the light with Marvel films. Have they? I feel like the next one that comes, if they make another Thor or another Avengers, I feel like it'll.
Well, it takes a certain tone to get it right. And I don't really like Taika Waititi as a filmmaker, but I think he got the tone perfect. And
I also am not that hateful towards Marvel films. I'm not as hateful towards Marvel films as you are.
Well, it's just
because I haven't seen them all. You've seen more than I have. And I did like a few that I saw. I just think they feel like they're trying to appeal to everyone.
Again, yeah.
And then all the money that's spent on them feels like gluttonous.
Then it's like novelty. I felt like that has gotten out of control. It's become toxic. And because if you think like in the 90s when they were trying to make comic book films that all flopped, like Darkman and Spawn, which were really dark and Spawn just did not have the budget for those special effects that it needed. But I think there are interesting things to tell, but I'm so tired of these boring superheroes that I want to see. I want to see troubled humans.
What's the movie with Ida Lupino and Marlon Brando? Where she owns the general store?
That's not Ida Lupino. That's Anna Magnani.
Oh, I thought Ida Lupino is Anna Magnani. Do I know who Ida Lupino is?
Yes, you do. You've seen her in that version, not the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse. I showed you. I think it's Ruben.
Oh my God, we watched Roadhouse.
The Patrick Swayze.
I would recommend it.
It's trash
because it's ridiculous. What do you think of the HBO Angels in America? I recall really enjoying that.
Mike Nichols did that. Yeah, I really liked it. You've seen Ida Lupino in Where the City Sleeps. That's a great Fritz Lang film.
Oh my God, Color Purple. There's so many moments that make me cry. I mean, Danny Glover.
I think our first Christmas together, you put that on.
Kicking when the sisters get separated. When Oprah gets hit with that gun and her eye is all. That makes me cry.
Oh, and when she could have sliced his neck open while she's shaving him.
If my brilliant idea is executed, wait, I just lost mine. I feel like execs would drag it out because of the success. They would add more movies and not know when to stop.
But you could build,
which is so unfortunate because my idea would be do the 10, and if it's a hit, then people will be so hungry for the next batch of characters who we can create a world around. The reason I get bored with these Marvel movies is it's too many
There's no
callbacks, and it's just like
there's no tension. You know?
I don't know what's going on because I haven't seen them all.
They're not going to kill the cash cow.
There's no tension because I know that like main characters probably aren't going to die, and even if they do, they'll just come back to life, or like they'll set the movie 10 years before. And I like finality. I like moving on. Yeah.
That's why you write that into the contract. And also, they probably wouldn't let you make all 10 if the first 1 or 2 don't make any money. So you probably.
Well, no, because I would get like all of these projects, like we would all work because all these writers and directors need to work together to flesh out 10 stories.
Kind of like Avatar.
And so they all sort of get greenlit, not at the same time, but like pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're going to spend this much money on one movie, you should gamble on 10. Like, oh, now I'm in trouble for not knowing who Kurosawa is. I'm not a cinephile, people. I'm just pretty. I don't know. No, just kidding. Okay, well, I haven't eaten anything. Oh my God, people like my idea. I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We have not reviewed any version of the Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, the original. Yeah, I could rewatch the remake too, but the original is golden. That's a good Frankenheimer film.
Well, we won't have a live next Saturday because you won't be here around, right?
We could. Well, we could if you could figure out how to do a swear separately, but
no.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then after that would be a Thanksgiving themed live, which I don't know how that'll work. Does Aggie allow y'all to put up a Christmas tree? She's only been around a Christmas tree once when she was little.
She was fine. I mean,
and she didn't really bother it.
They do the thing where they knock off.
Like the low ornaments, she would. But then I get nervous because the little hook, I'm afraid, because that dummy will probably eat it. But we haven't had a Christmas tree in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So she won't have to deal with that this year. Okay. Well, lovely chatting with everyone. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
All right. Ta-ta.